More reaction from around the world to the passing of Nelson Mandela later on this program. Now, tributes from across Africa and across the world have been pouring in, and we'll be bringing you some of them during this special edition of the program. In fact, the president of Africa's most populous nation, Goodluck Jonathan, had some thoughts as well, and we will be sharing them with you a bit later on the program. But now let's speak to one of my colleagues, Lebo, Diseko, who has been working on this story for quite some time, as a matter of fact. And, Lebo, it's interesting. You and I have had the opportunity to talk about this moment, the run-up to this moment, as colleagues. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share some of those, conversations that we had with our viewers. For you and for every South African, this is not news. This is personal. Absolutely.
I think we prepared for it, but nothing quite prepares you for how you will feel. I mean, it is it's a sense of loss, like we've lost a family member.
When did Mandela become a family member for you? Because you're from a much younger generation. After the struggle, your mother was closely involved in the work of the ANC. When did you recognize this man behind us as part of the family?
Well, my family were in exile because of their involvement in the struggle against apartheid. So, my earliest memory of hearing about Nelson Mandela is being about 4 years old and being told about this man that had been put in prison for our freedom. So even from 4, 5, 6 years old, he was very much a presence in the house and very much the sort of face of the struggle for us.
When we look at the stage this man's life went through, there's so many iconic points, too many to even mention. But I want you to take us to one that you talked about particularly poignantly. That moment when he was released, you were at home with your mom. What was that like? What was happening at home?
I mean, I didn't quite understand. There were 3 radios that we had in the house. They were all on at the same time. The TV was on and it was full blast. The phone was ringing. My mother was talking to her friends and she was crying. And just the sort of mix of emotions I didn't really understand. And I remember saying to her, Mama, can we just turn one of the radios off? And she was like, no, we need to hear everything. I need to hear everything of that moment. And for her, she'd been in exile for so long. It meant she might finally be able to go home. Maybe, just maybe, that dream of freedom, being a person in your own country, might come true.
Do you think that South Africans are actually conscious of the extent to which Nelson Mandela has had an impact beyond the country's borders? Because I was saying this is personal. South Africans at this time are in a period of national mourning, but do they recognize that there is mourning across Africa and indeed across the world?
I think they do, absolutely, but I think in the same way as if you have a family member that's had an impact in the rest of the world, you're grateful for the fact that other people see him that way and he's been able to impact in that way, but what matters to you is what he did for you. And just before we came, before the program started, I was speaking to some younger people that I know that were saying he sacrificed his life for us.
Lebo, we'll be speaking to you later in the program. But